To our first story of the day, distinguished Nigerian lawyer, elder statesman, and former Federal Commissioner for Works and Housing, Alhaji Lateef Olufemi Okunnu, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, will mark his 93rd birthday in 4 days' time, having been born on February 19, 1933. For this installment of the program, I had the privilege of sitting down with him to relive some of the major highlights of his very accomplished life, especially his service to the nation and humanity. Well, thank you very much, sir, for agreeing to speak to Arise News. And your birthday is on February 19, 2026. You'll be 93 on that occasion. So let us seize this opportunity to be one of the first group of persons to wish you a very happy birthday in advance. Now, Alhaji Lateef Femi Okunnu, you've seen Nigeria, colonial times, post-colonial, independence period, all of that. And you've had the privilege of being in the independence struggle when you were a student at the University College in London. You were involved in the Students' Union, the Great Nigerian Union of Students in Britain and Ireland. You were involved in the West African Students' Union. You were involved in the Conference of African Organizations and all of that. And then you came home, you ended up in the Nigerian Youth Movement. You were part of the opposition against the Nigerian Defense Pact, Anglo-Nigerian Defense Pact. You were also involved in the struggle against the detention bill. Then you served subsequently for 7 years as Nigeria's Minister of Works and Housing. And you were there at a very major moment in the history of Nigeria under the Gowon administration, and subsequently taking part in the 1979 Constitution. Before then, in the 60s, the Hard Rock Conference in 1966, and then the creation of states and all of that. And then you were in the 2004 National Political Conference, the 2014 conference. You were the leader of the delegation, even if you didn't go there. You've been pro-chancellor of a university. You've been involved in a lot of activities over the years. Now you are celebrating 93. I've taken time to read your autobiography, In the Service of the Nation. And I've just tried to isolate some of the highlights. But yet, Nigeria is still a major proposition, waiting to happen. We're not yet a nation. Where did we get it wrong? Where did we fail as a nation, as a man who has seen it through the decades?
Thank you very much, Reuben. I've been seeing you every day, practically saying hello to you. No response from you. I'm happy to meet you today. Nigeria, as we know, contains ancient kingdoms. And what was the amalgamation? The Northern Protectorate was left intact. And the British didn't want to disturb the religious belief of the majority of people in the North. Sharia. The nationalists, largely opponents of regard, knew only the English law, which I also happened to start studying, the common law. The British don't have any written constitution till today. They govern Britain by convention. So what Lugard did in 1914 was to leave the Northern Protectorate intact with Sharia as the governing religion. And so most of the opponents were British-trained lawyers.
Are you then saying, with all this background information, that the colonialists are to be blamed for the problem with Nigeria? That they laid the foundation for the problems we have? The eye is about our own responsibility as Nigerians post-independence.
Our problems are Nigeria's problems. We created the problems ourselves. The colonial power set up the framework. We are the authors of our own misfortune today, because our problem today is money politics. There was no money politics in the days of Zik, my hero. Whether it gets hero. No money. No money. Even in time of Chipaolawo, Zik, no money. You could go to Gola Memorial Hall for Lagos elections. I was a witness. Have election. In the evening, they count the votes and announce the votes between NCNC Democratic Alliance and the Nigerian Youth Movement, founded in 1933 by Dr. Vaughan, who incidentally I thought was a Brazilian, but he came from southern states of America. J.C. Vaughan, John Churchill Vaughan. So those who were in politics in those days, I'm talking of the 40s, after the war, before the war, were men and women who funded themselves. No, all this waste of time, INEC and so on. No. That was the Constitutional Conference, 67, 68. And it's there during the conference with Balewa, Prime Minister, Zik, Premier of Eastern Region, Awolowo, Chipolowo, Premier of Western Region, Sadana of Northern Region, and many other delegates, over 30. Taka was there, Aminu Kano was there. It was at that conference, the second conference, that the British Colonial Secretary made Balewa, Sadana, Zik, Awolowo to sign a defense pact. Aminu Kano gave him a copy. I'm now disclosing that for the first time, this memory. He gave me a copy. The copy is now available in my latest book.
But Alaji, this Anglo-Nigerian Defense Pact, I think that was 1963?
60.
60. Okay, between 60 and 63. Is it not ironic that today, the same Nigeria, which is the point I'm making about how did we get it wrong? The same Nigeria is looking up to the United States to come and help us with security. The same Nigeria is going to Turkey to say, please come and help us. We cannot even handle this internal security crisis. Isn't that ironic?
It is an irony. It is an irony. Maybe we don't even know whether Britain is also supplying arms or armed forces, but I'm not strong on that issue. America, Trump's America, is now the president, the overall head of the world. He has installed himself as the emperor of the world. Isn't it ironic that after the Berlin Conference in 1885, when the Europeans divided Africa into empires, NATO, the creation of Europeans and America after the Second World War, was threatened with a power problem, with America insisting to annex a part of Denmark.
Greenland.
Huh?
Greenland.
Greenland. Another member of NATO. Now, America had now climbed down with opposition from the NATO powers. All of them. To say, okay, I forget. I'm no longer interested in Denmark's.
You were an all-rounder at King's College. You even played cricket. You were assistant prefect. You were school librarian. And you flirted with socialism while in school. When you got to England to study law, you were involved in socialist, communist organizations.
I was the deputy chairman of Socialist Society of my college.
On the basis of which you traveled to
very close to communism.
Yes. But socialists or communists, whatever the label is, they always end up, more or less, most of them, as members of the bourgeoisie and the establishment. When you returned to Nigeria in 1960, having completed your law and your pupillage at Gray's Inn, you became part of the establishment, starting with the ad hoc political conference in 1966.
Yes.
Where the best form of government for Nigeria was debated. Now, do you think you were a federalist at the various meetings?
I'm a Nigerian.
No, you supported federalism.
Oh, yes.
At that conference.
Oh, yes.
Now, how did we get it wrong? Because the Gawan administration that took over in the counter coup of 1966 was talking about a strong federal government, a weak central government, or a loose federation. At the end of the day, that conference was disbanded.
That's Muritala Mohammed, not Gawan.
The other political conference,
the
66?
No. 66, Gawan became head of state in July, after the July coup. There was no conference at that time.
No, not a conference. Maybe it's a committee. Maybe I'm using the wrong word. Where the Midwest, the West, the North came together. It's in your book. I read it down.
Yes. Now, you are now moving to 67.
Okay.
Or 76. Not 66. 66 brought Gawan after the July coup. The coup. And then he reigned till almost 10 years. 9 years, 75, yeah. I left Gawan's government at the end of 74.
December 74.
December 74. Muritala Mohammed was already a member of Gawan's government for a year. All right? Sort of thing. Now, things started to go wrong, in my view, when Muritala took over the government. He destroyed the civil service. He retired the best permanent secretaries, Britain, Bills, and Balewa inherited, and Gawan also inherited the best. Till today, the civil service had not recovered from that stroke. Muritala, in fairness to him, on the positive side, right, he then set up ad hoc constitutional conference, of which I was a member. And he said, whatever type of government you choose, federal, non-federal, please prepare a paper under Rotimi Williams. And we sat for about a year or whatever. And we drafted what became the 1979 Constitution.
That's true, yes.
To me, 1979 Constitution was the best of them all. It's unfortunate that Babangida toyed with the new Constitution. Abacha gave us another Constitution, sort of thing. The best, in my mind, in my judgment, is the 1979 Constitution. Now, Ruben,
Yes.
if you examine these constitutions carefully, and I have copies of all of them on my table there, they contain virtually the same provisions. Take the legislative list, the exclusive legislative list. All the constitutions from 1950 or 54. 54 is the Littleton Constitution. Housing, for example, is a state matter, not federal matter. The laws, colonial laws of 1958, Section 50 therein said, land made land is state matter, regional matter, land. But in the case of Lagos and Cameroon, which was still part of Nigeria, right, you should assume that title to land in Lagos territory, colony, and southern Cameroon, that the title was vested in those two bodies. So when I was Federal Commissioner for Works and Housing, with responsibility for federal housing, I had no land, federal land, to govern or to handle. Tafawa Balewa Square was given to people in Lagos colony in 1897 or 1898. There was no Nigeria at that time. There was no Nigeria. So the claim of federal government about Tafawa Balewa Square, for example, was grossly misplayed because there was no Nigeria when the Queen gave the people of Lagos colony Tafawa Balewa score. That I hope the federal government knows that. There was a recent Supreme Court judgment which I obtained, my chambers, which has put an end to title to Tafawa Balewa square. History of Tafawa Balewa square is in my book.
I was talking about the adult conference to talk about creation of states and the best form of government. That body was disbanded by Gawan. But the 79 Constitution thing came later. You were also in the 2005 political conference. You were also leader of delegation to the 2015 national conference, but you didn't go. You said the Attorney General...
It was a waste of time.
Yes, maybe perhaps previous recommendations by committees you were involved in were not taken. However, let's talk about the period you were Federal Minister of Works and Housing.
Yeah.
1966 to December 1974. Now, you were in charge of federal highways. Some of the highways you did at that time, they're still there. Eko Bridge, Shagamu Benin, Lagos...
Shagamu Benin, Onitsha.
Up to Onitsha. Oh, okay. Then the Kaduna, Zaria, Benin, Sapele, and
Ibadan to Kano.
Okay. Yeah. So, but all those routes, nobody maintained them. And then you were also in charge of lands. Under lands, there was this issue about this contestation that you talked about between Lagos and the federal government. The federal government wanting to take about 400 acres in Victoria Island area and all of that. But under your watch, you constructed the National Stadium, you did the Eko Bridge, you started the rehabilitation of roads in the east. Yeah. Are you not shocked that many of those structures under your watch are in state of disrepair? Even the Federal Secretariat is abandoned?
I'm appalled.
Oh, okay.
I'm sad. When I passed by Federal Secretariat, I checked a newspaper to cover. I didn't want to see the edifice I built. I didn't want to see the state in which it is now. But thank God, President Tinubu had considered that the Secretariat belongs to Lagos State. The land, of course, the land, what's on the land belongs to the owner of the land. In short, the Secretariat belongs to Lagos State. I made that known to Lagos State. Lagos State, after Fashola, we followed more or less what Tinubu did as governor. Sanwo-Olu is trying his best. And since the time out of memory, when I say out of memory, Tinubu's time, Lagos economy had remained one of the strongest in Africa. And it still manages to retain that position in spite of some misgovernment by even Sanwo-Olu himself. I had a CFO by people, the Kingdom of Ilado. They gave me land as compensation for my fees from 1963 till date. Sanwo-Olu, I gave him a copy of the CFO. Till today, he's not giving me a CFO. I assume that it's part of the land for the Lagos, Badagry, Sokoto. Because of the tunnels, they have to build some tunnels. I know about the tunnels. I knew about them when I was in office. But that should not preclude the government. So in short, federal government has no land in any part of the country.
Where the Land Use Act, Section 1.
That's 79, 78.
Oh, 78 years.
78.
Decree became an act, 79.
Now, yes. The Land Use Act only confer title on governors
as trustees.
So, as far as land is concerned, Land Use Act has conferred title to all lands within each state.
Okay. But I want to link it to the present. When you were Minister of Works and Housing, and you had a land division in the ministry, you talked a lot about compensation, and you just mentioned it now. At that time, for acquired properties, you talked about what is called free market value. If it is land, compensation plus maybe some percentage.
Yes.
Now, this has become an issue this time around. Whether you are talking about Makuku in Lagos State or the land in Owuroshoki or Wode Onirin, it's a living subject. But you were in charge of state lands up to 1st April 1968 in those newly created states, and particularly in Lagos. And you insisted on compensation. Why is compensation important? It's a big issue now. People of Owuroshoki are saying they don't want to pay them compensation at market value.
That's the fault of the Lagos government. Federal government had nothing to do. Let me tell you one story, which I hope is in my new edition. As Federal Commissioner in charge of lands, federal lands, I wanted to copy Harold Macmillan, Minister of Housing under Winston Churchill.
Yeah, it's in the book. It's there.
It's in the book. And he wanted to create 200 or 300 housing units, especially in London. The young Adilis also wanted to follow Harold Macmillan and create some hundreds of housing units in Lagos, for example. I sent my memo to Chief Awolowo. I hope it's in my book, this incident.
And Chief Awolowo told you, what do you want to do with housing?
And Chief Awolowo telephoned, because you've got to clear your memoranda with finance and economic development. Chief Awolowo telephoned, and I picked the phone. Femi, I said, yes, sir. Good day, sir. Yes. What's your business about housing? Ruben, I was nonplussed. Maybe chatted, they exchanged some few words, and I said to myself, as a lawyer, a constitutional lawyer, Chief Awolowo was correct. Because in regional days before independence, he created Western Nigerian Housing Corporation, Bodija, and all. Also Ikeja, when Ikeja was merged with Lagos. Zik followed suit, Eastern Nigerian Housing Corporation. Sadana also woke up, Northern Nigerian Housing Corporation. They developed the state land within their regions. The Ordinance 1958 lands haven't conferred title on the government of each region. Awolowo's government enacted their own land act. Zik for East. So, on reflection, I said the old man was right, and I abandoned the plan to build this because federal government has no land in any state.
Okay, let's talk about foreign policy. You were sent as envoy to a number of countries.
I was
Sent as an envoy to a number of countries during the Gawan period. Tunisia, Burkina Faso, Dahomey at that time, now
many
Republic of Benin,
countries, yes.
and all of those countries.
Brazil,
Yes. And then the policy then for Africa, for Nigeria, is that, Africa will be the centerpiece of Nigeria's foreign policy. And then, of course, the talk was about African people, Black people coming together. Now, this is Africa today. You are the way Addis Ababa, not on one occasion, not on two occasions. Are you sad
very,
that the same Africa has now produced sit-tight leaders, not persons like your colleagues in the West African Students' Union,
the Cameroon,
or everywhere? We now have
age
dictators.
78.
And some of them were originally Pan-Africanists.
I'm very sad, just as I'm sad about Nigeria. I'm very sad that we come to this stage up to now. One of the problems we have in Nigeria is that we have professional politicians who go in to make money.
Not to serve. Is that politicians make money?
Because not to serve. People not to serve as the politicians of old, as of Zik, Sadana, Awolowo, the politicians of that age before the first coup. Most of our politicians today, I'm sorry to say, is they're there to make money. I'm not saying all. I'm not condemning all.
Okay.
That's why I made reference to my assets declaration.
Yes, that's in chapter 11 of your book.
That's
the
when
current
I
edition.
got there. Head of state, Yawan, I believe he told all of us. He asked me, my assets at the time of appointment, my assets at the time I retired. I wish, Ruben, that all politicians down to local government level are required by law to declare their assets on assumption of office and an assets on leaving office, submit it to EFCC.
You were involved in reviving the Ansarudin schools, whether it's the Women's College or the
University.
Summit University, or the Ansarudin Society itself, or the Crescent Bearers, 39, established in 1939, which generations after have sustained. You're also, at a point, pro-chancellor of University of Makurdi, Federal University at Makurdi.
I was.
Yes. So when you look around now, with the education system, we don't have schools like King's College anymore. Even the schools that were handed over to the missionaries, parents these days send their children to private schools, very expensive. The public school system has collapsed. Do you think that any school in Nigeria, public school system, can still produce, the stars of your generation?
I'm glad for one thing. we underrate the quality of Gawan's government. In January 1974, I had just returned from Hajj as leader of Hajj delegation. Zik and Gawan said, yeah, he wanted to tour northwest. I was still carrying the the illness and weakness of Hajj. I went with him. At the race course in Sokoto, Gawan declared free primary education for all children in Nigeria. I'm sad that Muritala, Obasanjo, Shagari did not follow it up. It was abandoned at the time when Muritala came on board. It was pushed aside.
Okay, Alhaji, you have used the word I'm sad about 3 times in this interview. I'm sad. You have used that phrase. I have used the I'm appalled once. You've just repeated I'm sad again. So do you regret serving the Nigerian nation? Your book is titled In the Service of the Nation.
Oh, no. I regret nothing. I'm happy that after opposition to the colonial government, led by Balewa in a way, more or less, as a youth radical Nigerian youth movement, after all that, I regret not a single minute. My regret is that the road system, which I spent so much time building up, from 6,000 miles to about 21,000 miles. If you add Badagry, Sokoto, that will give you 1,000. I'm very, very proud of my record as Federal Commissioner for Works. My regret is that those after us have told you of the destruction of the civil service, compulsory retirement. But I credit John Muritala, right, for the new constitution, 1979. If you look up Littleton's constitution, 1974, Independence Constitution, 1960, 1963, when Midwest was brought in. They contain mostly the same provisions.
At the beginning of your book, you gave the history of Lagos. And one of the things you said there is that, Lagos is made up of people who came from Benin, made up of the Aworis, made up of people who came from Nupe, the Nupe side,
Brazilians,
Sierra Leoneans, the Nupes settled down in Oshodi and all of that.
Oshodi?
Yes.
The Nupes are in Oshodi.
Oshodi Tapa, yes. Okay, then they also...
my wife is a one.
We also had people from Egbaland.
Yes.
Who settled down at Ago-Egba or something. Are you linked to the Egba people from the Yai side, the Owu side, and all of that? So some people look at that. And in more recent times, you have people coming from all over Nigeria, settling in Lagos. So Okukumaiko side is almost an Igbo territory. And here there's this argument about who owns Lagos. So people say, all of us are here. Lagos belongs to all of us.
Nigeria belongs to all of us. If you are talking of the indigenes, over the years, you had this formation of people settling in Lagos. We are all, to me, Nigerians. Let's stop all this ethnicity. Ẹgbẹ́ ọmọ Yorùbá, no. Eastern Igbo something, no. Northern, what do they call themselves? Northern something, no. Nigerians, we are all Nigerians. One thing, the British today have defense pact with Nkrumah. He was a nationalist. Beyond Ghana, Pan-Africanism. I'm a Pan-Africanism. I'm not interested in Egbe Omo. When I was asked to come and head Egbe Omo, so I said no.
As we begin to wrap up now, the state of the bar and the judiciary in Nigeria. I mean, you were one of the foremost, if not the first, foremost indigenous law firm. That's Femi Panikaude and Shuwemimo, where you first practice. And from that time, 1960 to today, everybody is blaming lawyers. Everybody is blaming the judiciary. Are you also sad about what has become of the bar and the bench?
I'm sad about the blame. We have too many lawyers in Nigeria. Too many. And they have to find jobs for themselves. So the huge number of lawyers also have created a problem. I'm not saying there should be no increase in number of lawyers, no. I played a prominent part. I was editor of Nigerian Bar Journal.
Yes, that's true.
Right. The judiciary, the finest judiciary had gone. The days of J.C. Taylor, by his father. I don't want to make it personal, but in those days, when I was young at the bar, judges never mixed with the society. You won't see any judge at a party, whether in Onitsha or Lagos or Ibadan. They kept themselves to themselves. The quality of judges we had in those days and people at the bar. Now, I'm sad that Supreme Court has more than 16 judges. US of America, 16 judges. Up to today, for years in their constitution, 16 in the Supreme Court. Sacred. You leave the Supreme Court as Supreme Court, but it's been evaded. I don't know how many members of the Supreme Court now. Court of Appeal, which was to help, right? That also has tens or maybe almost 50 or so judges. That should not be. The number of cases which go to these courts are too many.
Well, we are conducting this interview on Valentine's Day. Your birthday is a few days from now. What will you say to Nigerians generally in terms of lessons?
Valentine is an Italian custom. I don't observe it.
It's about love.
I know,
about love.
I know it's love among young people. I don't. I accept it. Young men and women who must enjoy themselves. I've seen your program, maybe 2 or 3 programs. I rejoiced with you for Valentine. Your program, you don't allow me to skip Ruben. Because when I wake up, what's the time? Is it 8:30? Not 8:30, yeah, very good. Brush my teeth, ablution, pray my morning prayers. Arise, quick. Well, you don't return my greetings for Robert when I say hello to the 3 of you. You are magisterial. I enjoy your program practically every day. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for granting us audience at Arise News. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Ruben.
Thank you, sir.